Good morning, Africa.
You hear them roosters?
Is everybody up? Good morning, Africa.
Perfect, because I caught that all.
Did you really?
Yes. In a second, y'all gonna hear those roosters if you don't already hear them, which means we are up early in the morning. It is almost 6 o'clock in the morning in the Gambia, and we are up so we can go and catch the ferry. So we can go to, I still have power. So that we can go to Kunta Kinteh Island. I'm excited about this experience. I'm a little nervous. I heard we had to catch a smaller boat after the ferry, but I don't know how this is gonna work. So we're gonna see. So y'all stay tuned for this next adventure. We're on the ferry, guys. Headed over to Kunta Kinteh Island.
What is he doing?
All right,
turning
y'all.
around?
So if we would have had to take these boats right there, this is how we would have gotten on said boat. We would have had to have been carried to the boat out there. Yeah, no, I'm good.
Turning around.
Yeah.
I'm so good. I am so blessed. Let's see how this is gonna go down.
Is that an electric? I mean, a motor? Electric?
Yeah, yeah, the machine. It goes quickly. It might be take from here to there 50 minutes.
And they got goods. They got her stuff.
Yeah,
I
they
bet
got
you
stuff.
she's going to the market or to the stall, to a vineyard. You know, she has a stall or something.
Yeah.
Okay, who's next? Oh, they're over here waiting. They're waiting their turn to be carried to the boat. Oh. Okay, that's what I'm talking about right there, y'all. I think so. I really think so. Oh God. He's almost there now, y'all.
So they get used to it. So yeah, that's the funny part of it. Yeah, I'm not gonna do it. Yeah.
Wait, now he's still going in.
Mama, this is my favorite.
This is, yeah, no.
Oh yeah, he got the little girl. Your turn. Who's next?
No. I mean, if there's an emergency and there's no other way, I would do it.
Yeah, but
But now I'm in the tireless journey now.
Oh shit. Ooh. Ah. Oh.
Are they rushing off to the fires?
yeah, so we're not in it, we just want to see from the captain. Slaves. Slaves. Them taking them here.
Right.
For the back. It's adjacent to the state half direct. So it has connection with that communication ability.
So is this where we're getting off at?
In Dakar.
That's where we're getting off at over here?
Yeah.
Okay.
They also have that direct communication with
Right.
Everybody stay together. Stay together, guys.
You're gonna be in trouble.
I'm right behind you. Come here. The what? Oh. I know, that's pretty neat. Bara? How do you say Bara? This is Bara. Yes! Thank you! Yeah. Tourists over there just like us. They're going on a tour, they're going on a guided tour. This is Bara. Uh-oh. We just like in the road, but that's where everybody else is at, so we got our own bumpers. We got the market here. Oh, they can switch drivers right there. Okay.
Because like we do, we come and we don't pass through that, so we have access inside. So we'll be people enter.
Aha. So here's our rides, guys.
I'm not paying for those.
Right.
Can you see?
Yeah, I can see it.
Talking about the child.
Oh, yeah.
Jadi am. Okay.
What happened?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I want to welcome all of you. First of all, my name is Lamin. Lamin is one of the tour guides of the community who usually be charged of taking visitors to various heritage sites that we have in the village here. So on behalf of my humble self, on behalf of the entire community, and on behalf of the head of the two communities as well, I want to welcome to all of you here present for coming to the Gambia and much more coming to the roots to come and share this very important history with us that belongs to you and I. And today we're going to be visiting two communities where we'll be looking at various heritage sites. And when I say two communities, actually this is two villages. This is Jufure, that's the ancestral village of Kunta Kinteh's family, where today we got the 8 generations living. But indeed, it used to be the 7 generations that Alex met here in 1967. But then the village also has not been at its original settlement, because the village where Kunta Kinteh was born was further away from here. They finally had to shift for 3 occasions, and this is where in the 3rd settlement. But then because of this, due to the nature of the community or the village, how the size that you all find it a very informative talk, and then so that all of you can be good ambassadors for the Gambia and then the roots as well.
Yes.
So today we'll be starting the tour from this particular point. That's the slave museum that we have here since 1996. But this slave museum, the building itself, is connected to one of the sites we call the Kunta Kinteh Island, which indeed has previous names like Andrews Island, James Island. It is only king to Kunta Kinteh Island in 2011 because we felt it's time to take ownership of our own heritage and our destiny. That's why we changed the name to keep the legacy of Kunta Kinteh as well. So this part is also connected in different other places. Of course, we have some in the building here we started. It's one of those built in the Gambia by the British in 1840. And there, after the buildings abandoned the house, it was never used. Later used by a company called Moral First, which was a French Lebanese company. And then thereafter it was never used till we have Kunta Kinteh Island. And the building again, after a few years, in 1996, the building was therefore refurbished to housing all the artifacts and information regarding to this very historic tour of slavery, where we got all these things in there. Because since 1996, the Gambia government and the people had organized a very big festival known as the International Festival. This was geared towards enabling our brothers and sisters in diaspora who will come back home to the Gambia to have 2 weeks in there during that course of that festival, so they can have some important things they can reconnect themselves back to. So which is one of the reasons the mission being here. Actually, we're being enslaved or taken into bondage in 3 forms mostly. One was through the form of kidnapped. And this is the way Kunta Kinteh was acquired, as he was just merely collecting firewood with his family in the jungle. And the other was like raid, of the situations that they eventually fall into. And this is showing you at certain point that will lead the complete disappearance of families, because when people have been raiding their villages, get their houses into fire, sometimes it can involve the whole family, where the father, more than the baby is taken. And then if in some more one farther than that, this is the manner how they've been transported on their barefoot, put in shackles on their legs and hands. And then during the course of this journey, it becomes very terrible. Most would get dehydrated, starving. At the end of the day, nothing is left, dead. And when somebody died, there was no moment of burial. The only thing is to just take the shackles of them, just left them in the forest. So this becomes the scenario that anytime they start moving, they've been followed by vultures, knowing that at a certain point some people have been left in the jungle where they could also find something to defend. So this becomes some of the terrible situations that our ancestors happen to be victims of during the hard days of the slavery period. So on that note, it's going to be too long. If I want to keep you standing, still we have more to see and more to talk about. And then from here we'll walk inside the building here, where we'll look at all the historical information and artifacts. And there in one of the halls, I will explain the history of Kunta Kinteh, and there I will give you a chance to go around and look at other things and read other things on yourself. But inside the museum,
We're at the slave port, Kunta Kinteh village, learning about the history. This is our first room that we have went in. Y'all want to see about this tour, make sure y'all follow my YouTube channel once I post it. But oh my gosh, this has been great information so far.
this by myself, sometimes I talk to people and tell me it looks like getting off. Using against the illegal slave traders who were coming to the Gambia. So later, because Bantu is wider from the side for the side north, where the ferry goes. So they also have to look for another point where they can build a fort. This was the last one that was going to be 1837. This was the 1821 after Bantu was acquired in 1816. So this was the 1836 named after Fort William. This means that so they built this fort in order to save the man in the Gambia.
Yes. Second room that we are in with all the history. I'm learning so much. You have to send me that picture you just took. This is how it happened, y'all, right here. They came over here and got us, shipped us over here to work. That's how it happened. Just like that.
The cannon from there. This is going to be first establishment to bridge the Gambia that was built 1810 after their so-called abolition of slavery, I would rather call it. They started repatriation before they started bringing their men to the coast of Africa, but nothing is illegal slavery. So that was the point they built with the objective of trying to defend the river Gambia so that ships that travel across the
Okay, y'all. We have our life jackets on. Oh yeah, it's wrapped around me. Got it. Got my life jacket on. We're about to get on this boat. Oh my gosh. Oh, I like your life jacket. Oh, really? You got a fancy one. What's they saying? We doing a rope run? Thank you. Ooh, thank you. I guess. Thank you. Okay. Oh. Okay.
Which way are we going to be?
That's the lodge name after Kunta Kinteh Island.
Oh, I saw that turn in when we were turning in. That over there is Kunta Kinteh Camp. Woo!
Motivation.
That's it. Uh-oh. Yeah, I think so. All right, we are heading to Kunta Kinteh Island. We're on the boat. Let me show you. This is the boat that we are taking over to the island, okay? And the island is out that way. Alright, y'all, we're almost to the island. There it is, right there. We're almost there. We're almost there. Oh, time to get off. Who's trying to find out? Nobody.
You are lucky, ladies.
We made it. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Woo. Alrighty, y'all. We made it off the boat.
Most welcome to this very historical land of the Gambia, which is one great testimony of the present Europeans in this country here for occupying this particular fort for more than 200 years. Indeed, the first Europeans occupied here were Portuguese in 1450. And then after a few years later, one of their sailors sadly died here called Andrew, and which they named the fort after Andrew's Island. But after the Portuguese occupation, for a number of years later, another country followed them, which became Poland. Poland today is the modern country known as Latvia, Letland. That was in 1651. But by the end of the southern part of the 15th century, they lost the fort to that was 1660. Then 1661, the British came, the name of the fort to become what we call today James Island, named after James Duke of York. And the British had the longest stay than any other power or than any occupant here. But their time was the most crucial point, because this is when the fort, till the Americans were independent, that was when the British finally lost the fort, simply because they were paying more attention to the war in America and eventually lost the fort to the French British, who were the last occupants here in 1830 when they finally abandoned this island. And then this is not the only fort in the Gambia we have. We have another one further inland of the country around Janjambore, which is a holding place. This is actually the main shipping point for people adopted to slavery from this country here, where they're taking their final shipment from here to the New World. And then the place why it was numerous shift from one power to the other was because they were claiming that the Gambia is one of the best part of Africa for trade, because the river is one of the finest navigable rivers in the African coast. And then earlier, the British and Portuguese would have the trouble of being attacked by local people, where almost 500 of them all perished. So this has gone for numerous days. And then during the course of slavery, this is actually the way the fort looks like exactly. But unfortunately, due to various factors, natural and natural factors, the island actually started getting partly be destroyed and partly be taken by erosion. And then looking at the fort, this is the very point we are standing here. And then we did have 4 bastions on the fort. And under these bathrooms we have dungeons. Dungeons were kind of a prison where ancestors who were the kind of people who were in no way ready at any point to fight for the liberations, who don't want to scare anything. So these are people the masters would call the aggressive ones because they were scared of them. They knew what they're capable of doing, especially in the moment when they put them in the slave ships. Larger quantity of them would revolt, and this revolt would cause a larger percentage of slave terrorism simply because they would rebel, and that would cause from every 100 departed from Africa before their arrival, 13 to 3% always terrorists. And one of the major factors was because of rebellion, starvation, disrespect, and overload. So to deprive rebellion, the only thing they can do is to hold some of our great ancestors in such a terrible dungeons, just to make them starving and physically and mentally tortured. Just after the course of their stay here, they would have not left with any strength anymore to become such an aggressive people or revolt against them. And that's the main source of water point on the fort here, which I will elaborate further when we get inside. And on the bastion, they place cannon, which simply when they want to defend the fort from various sides of the Gambia where they feel enemies can always come from. And during the course of slavery, that's the entry point into the fort, where it has been shifted here because of erosion. And this is another holding place where they keep women who are conceived when they go to the fort here. And there is also similar thatch houses here where some of these women who are conceived were brought in here simply because the people value so much because of economic interest. So they have to give a lot of comfort and other things. And this is another side where slaves have also been kept in some of the men and women who have not conceived, and some of the men from a physical stone where they've been kept. But that side has disappeared because when it's low tide, you can see the shape of the buildings. And that's so the main resident of all the powers, because the last power that occupied the fort here left here 1830. That was when the Badi Brigade came to abolish slavery. Until in 2011, we got the name of the fort finally being converted to become Kunta Kinteh Island in order to keep its legacy for other coming generations to know actually who is Kunta, not to only be remembering Andrew and James and stuff like that. So we feel we taking time to take our own history.
Bobo tree.
Very important functions. One of them, we use the fruit to make juice, even one of the popular juice today in the Gambia. And the leaf, we use the leaf, the first one, to make soup out of it. And likewise, the leaf can be sewn by get the powder mixed with so many dyes. And most importantly, we were not having pipe-borne waters in those days, our ancestral times. So the only source of water was coming from the wells. So the fabric that they used to make those rope to collect water from the wells has to be carved from the skin of the baobab. So that's why it was so important in the days when ancestors, every family must have a baobab tree. So even in nowhere you find somebody in the bush you saw no more baobab means it's an old place where people live and they move to another settlement.
Okay. Bobo tree.
All right, so here, like Gambia River is naturally divided into two parts. All these then we have salt water, so you have to travel right from here, another extra 300 kilometers, that's why you can have the source of fresh water in the Gambia. But the only provision that was possible here, as people living here, or our enslaved ancestors, water was quite an important thing to their survival. So the only provision they could make here was to only have this consistency as a way of securing water from the rainwater. And Gambia there will have rain only for 2 months of the year. And like this only they so the only provision. And the fort is also built on few resources. The main rock we see is volcano is laterite. Laterite is locally from the Gambia. And the white one is a mortar, which is a collection from oyster shells. And the red one you can see on the wall, these are also foreign material because these are one of those sources brought in as a ballast. Normally when ships go, they come in like the weight is on board, it's very light. So because of the waves along the way, they fill them with the firestones as a ballast. So anytime they arrive, you will use them because of the various sites. And there, that's one of the dungeons. This is the most disturbing places where the greater part of ancestors who actually were not ready in any point to be taken to the unknown world, to leave their families and loved ones behind, where they've been physically touched, they have been tortured but in their own homeland before they're taken elsewhere. This is one of those sites where they've been bundled inside in whatever amount they feel like, because slavery has no boundary, it has no capacity. It's all about overloading for replacement purposes, either from here or taking them across Atlantic. So this is why great people like Kunta Kinteh, who were ready in no way to be taken, because they were not born to be slaves. They were not slaves. people were being captured randomly. So once they brought them here, after identifying all those they feel they could be resistable slaves, that's why they brought them here. And the mentality was just to physically and mentally torture them by putting shackles on their legs and hands with this small little ventilation on the other end, where they just put them in there and they've been fed once every day. And according to the history, they had only two options. There are two occasions they will come in close contact with this. One is the first day they get them there, and the final day they have to get them out for finally get them to the slave yard for the departure. So you can have a look in there and have the people
Wow.
have been started to be physically and mentally tortured in their own homelands, even before their arrival in the plantations and mines. And they're not just being left free like that. They still continue to put shackles on their legs and hands, as they knew that nobody can escape, because when you got shackles on your leg and hand, you can jump here, and we serve as the only ventilation point. In fact, the ventilation there is very limited, because then the building would have been roofed. It's only possible when the sun goes this way, you can have a little reflection of the sun. So they were just being kept here to be starving, and it has no control capacity. This was meant for only catering for 10 to 15 people, but slavery was almost in, from the beginning to the end. It is all about overloading, which is only been done for replacement purposes.
10 to 15
And this place,
people.
all men and women can be.
It doesn't matter what number, because nobody you only can be set free from slavery without going to the new world. The only possible thing that will cause is death. Because once you died, it's just a matter of dumping into the water. That's why Marcus Garvey said, with all the statistics you can see, 10 million, 15 million, whatever million, the history will never tell you how many have died in the coast. But he said if you look at the bottom of the sea, it's all full of the black man bones. Why you look at the fat dolphins, they all full of black man flesh, because uncountable numbers, either in the course of rebellion, people either dead or alive have been thrown in the water. Here, somebody died, the only place of burying you is to dump in the water.
Do we know roughly how long, like once they arrived on the island, do we know
In
roughly
the
how long they stayed before they were?
The minimum they stay here would be 2 weeks. That's the minimum, because that will facilitate anywhere for those in the interior also to be here as well, because that's the final shipment from the Gambia. And the fort can almost carry more than 100 people. More than that, it can go up to 150, including sometimes the masters as well.
The raids are being organized. They organize the raids at the arrival of the ship, because they are going to spend so much time to keep them, feed them, and take care of the aggressive ones. So they sort of arrange the raids. So when they know the ship is about to arrive, 2 weeks time or so, then they will start the raids. And then when the ship is gone, they will sort of calm down, strategize, look at issues. And when the ship is coming back, because you don't want to keep them here for long, you want to feed them, and so it does not make any profit for you. So they put their strategies, work on their things. Few time to the arrival of the ship, then they'll go for the raid. So which has been absent in all history books, and which people like us are always arguing over it, is that we are always talking about the white man. But what happened before the ship, before this black man is handed over to the white man? I mean, our chiefs, the village elders, the people who conduct the raids will be the one doing that kind of preparation. So they'll keep those people that they arrested, they will have them with them at their various levels. So when the slave hunters or whatever name you give them come, they will put that up.
Wow.
As advocates, me and my whole team, who was on the advocacy side, is saying, okay, they need to apologize, okay, but we also play a little bit of a role. Our chiefs played a role in so it becomes a sort of a, what is it called, a sort of a game that if I am more powerful than you, I will send my people to you, they will kill you as a king and take care of your people and keep them under slavery. So they will hold them until when the white man is here. And the white man will also supply the kings with some guns and gunpowder, so that they will be more powerful than the other one, because they are so that kind of trade wasn't only the Atlantic, that the triangular, but there was also a lot of other trading in the hinterland dealing with the caves.
Yeah, it's just like Lamin said. I think this is what exhilarates, because it's similar things that exist, and it's just because of the way it's been conducted. Look at the Chinese in Africa, even including the Gambia. They're overfishing our rivers. The country is becoming scarcity of fish. No? So this is because the government is having an interest, which actually is not really going down well to the people, you know.
Yeah.
So.
Wow.
If you had the chance to go to the hinterland and saw some other areas, see the marks and so, I mean, we are all involved.
it back to land.
You got all your bags.
Yes, don't forget anything on the boat. But we have made it back to land, y'all. Wonderful, wonderful experience.